Hello again and welcome. Last episode, I spoke with instructional designer Lori about talent development's role in informing and influencing. Moving on, this episode I will be continuing my conversation with Lori about communication on depersonalizing and defusing anger. Stay tuned to learn more. So what are a few challenging situations that training and development professionals may encounter and, some strategies that they can employ when dealing with these types of situations?
Well, let's face it, we all are faced with challenging situations from time to time. For example, being caught off guard. That's the top challenging issue to manage. When that happens, you might ask to just buy some time. Ask the person, please give me till the end of the day to consider this, or tell me a little bit more. I want to understand. Buying time so that you can formulate an answer and respond appropriately. You might also, take time to calm yourself, whether that's through deep breathing, focusing your thoughts, bringing down your heart rate, or thinking about the response formula of what I know and what I don't know and how I will find out. Another challenging situation we all face is criticism. First thing that you need to think about is recognize that the other person might be right or might not see a bigger picture or was frankly just frustrated, rather than defending, becoming defensive, or accepting what they have to say as being the truth. You can always simply just say, thank you for the feedback. There's no harm in that. You're not saying you acknowledge what they've said is right or not right. You're just saying thank you for the feedback. We should always, demonstrate empathy and ask questions. If someone seems frustrated after a training, for example, and they seem aggravated, you could simply say, please, tell me what did you hope to learn, or how did I miss the mark on that for you? Another strategy, which sounds great but is difficult to do, is to always ignore your first two thoughts. Your first thought tends to be defensive. Your second thought tends to be accusatory. Your third thought usually tends to be focused on problem solving. So trying to drill down to that third thought before you speak. Lastly, managing conflict. Not all conflict is bad. It's inevitable, but it can also lead to positive outcomes. But just keep in mind that if it's mismanaged, a very small misunderstanding can spiral out of control. Sometimes we have conflict that are focused around tasks. Sometimes we have disagreements about how work gets done. And one of the strategies I always come back to in my mind is, if I were to ask you, how do you paint that wall, Dario? What's your process? You might say, I'm going to start in the top left corner and move across, from the left to the right. I'm short, so I might start in the middle and paint across and paint down, and then have someone. There's no wrong way to paint the wall. So sometimes not getting hung up on the how to, and just the fact that it is getting done, is focusing on what is important, is the task completion, and not necessarily about how it gets done. There's not necessarily a right or wrong. People have experienced issues differently, and therefore their views are different as such.
Well, again, thank you, Lori, for sharing your insights on depersonalizing and defusing anger. This wraps up our 5-Minute University series on communication. Be sure to stay tuned for our next 5-Minute University topic and discussion. Thank you for listening in, and we hope you gain some insights. Until next time.